You want to talk about ice baths for a minute?
Yeah, of course. You
So,
have strong
all right.
opinions about him, I can hear.
So personally, I don't take ice baths, and I don't think they're worth it. There is some evidence about some health benefits with ice baths, but I don't think they're benefits that are unique to ice baths, and you can't get them somewhere else. So there seems to be this movement on social media right now where everyone is in a cold plunge and kind of, it's thought of being tough. It's thought of being very conducive to health and having great health outcomes. I think ice baths are good if you want to teach your body to adapt to the cold. Otherwise, I don't see much of a point in them. So, people usually say the benefits to ice baths. People say they improve recovery, and they do acutely. They reduce things like your sense of perceived soreness and certain markers of inflammation in the short term. However, there have been plenty of studies now. It's not a one-off study. It's been replicated, showing that regular ice baths after training reduce training outcomes of strength and hypertrophy. So if you take an ice bath, if you're taking an ice bath over 12 weeks after each training session, you're actually dulling your strength gains. Are you familiar with this research?
Yes, I've heard people discussing the fact that it stunts muscle growth. I have not heard that it should stunt strength gains, though.
Yeah, so I think that is a bit equivocal. You have some studies showing it does stunt strength gains. You have some studies showing that it just hinders muscle growth. However, if you extrapolate that over a long enough time frame, even if it didn't show even if there were no 12-week studies, 8-week studies showing it hinders strength gains, if you extrapolate that over a long enough time frame, how strong you are is very influenced by how much muscle mass you can put on. All else being equal, the more muscle mass you have, the more contractile tissue you have, the stronger you're going to be. So even if it didn't show that, I think there are some studies that do show hindered strength gains, but even if it didn't show that in the short term, I still think you would see that over a longer period of time. So I don't take ice baths because I just don't think it's worthwhile. I think they're absolutely miserable. So I don't do it for that reason. You can get recovery benefits elsewhere, things like massage, things like light exercise. So you could just do some light movement with that muscle group to help speed recovery. Even light stretching is shown to be beneficial versus moderate and intense stretching. And those are things that that are just much less miserable and they're not going to hinder your strength outcomes. They might actually improve it, or hypertrophy outcomes. And I don't think there are other benefits aside from teaching yourself to teaching the body to adapt to a cold environment that are unique to ice baths. So, people talk about things like, well, they burn brown fat. It's like, okay, well, brown fat is your body's mechanism for heating itself up. So of course it's going to burn brown fat. I don't care about that. I don't care about that adaptation. They say things like it releases dopamine. People like to use mechanistic arguments. And I think, well, so do plenty of recreational drugs. And I'm not going to advocate that you take those. So yeah, I think it can be a cool way to teach yourself to do something hard, and continue that, be disciplined. But I think there are much better ways to teach yourself to be disciplined that confer another benefit, like learning a skill, exercise. I would take those over ice baths any day.
Right. Very interesting. I think you're the first person that I've spoken to who are not a fan of ice baths. I was going to say, I do not do ice baths, but I do cold showers, and I'm a huge fan of cold showers. They really help energize me for the last few hours of the day. I do them a few hours after my workout because I'm scared that they're going to stunt my muscle growth. And they do release endorphins, so it feels amazing when you get out of there. And I like the mental challenge as well of being in the really cold shower. And so for those reasons, and, supposedly there's a debate whether or not it helps muscle recovery. I do believe it does. And, for those reasons, I've been a huge fan of cold showers.
Yeah. And I just want to reinforce everything you said. I probably sounded extremely negative on ice baths. if you enjoy ice baths and if you're doing them for any of the reasons that you stated, go for it. That's absolutely go for it. I just don't think that many of the beneficial claims that are made on social media are supported by sound evidence.
Right.
I don't think they're, I think we just live in this environment right now where it's like ice baths are going to change your life. And I'm like, they probably won't. They'll just make you miserable for a few minutes every day. And you might feel pretty alert afterwards. But there are plenty of ways to feel alert. Go to a 1RM, you'll feel alert. Go spar with somebody. There are plenty of other ways to feel alert. So yeah, cold showers, if you enjoy them, great. I'm very skeptical about the benefits on muscle recovery when it comes to a cold shower. I think they're probably similar to ice baths. It's just
easier version.
Exactly, an attenuated version of an ice bath. So, because I often see that, I often post about, did you know that ice baths hinder gains over time, hinder training adaptations in the long term? And people often say, well, I take them for other benefits. I'm like, okay, what benefits that are unique to ice baths? And then some people say, well, it's the problem is that they've been taken after the training sessions. If you took them before, it would be fine. And I think, who wants to take an ice bath right before training? That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
And you don't know that. You can speculate, but you don't have a study on that. Or people say, well, a cold shower doesn't hinder, well, cold showers don't. And I'm like, you don't know that either. You can speculate on that, but I don't think there's a study showing, cold showers after training that I'm aware of, or comparing long-term outcomes with ice baths before training or on a separate day versus immediately after. Mechanistically, it does make some sense, that you're going to have maximal protein synthesis after training versus in the following days. But I think that's sustained for quite some time. So maybe if you took an ice bath the next day, it would still hinder your strength outcomes.
Right. This is so interesting. So do you feel the same way about cryotherapy?
Yeah, to me, it's all the same. You're just cooling the body. I think like immersing yourself in water is a very efficient way of cooling the body. But you could just go stand out in the cold in Denmark's winter and similar.
You'll get very cold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Benefits or harm your strength outcomes either way. Benefits or harms.